It's 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. I slept into the afternoon because I stayed up all night and I did my daily meetings at 10 a.m. and meetings ended by about noon, so I went to bed and then got up. I need to get back in bed. I got to get back on a normal schedule, but before I do, I'm going to take a flight. And I'm starting from effectively cold and dark on Windows. Only thing I've got running right now is OBS so I can record this. And hopefully the frames per second rates will be decent. I had changed some things. I do need to change some settings before I start flying because I changed it to AMD FSR, even though this is on a GeForce RTX 3060 card running in my AMD 5950X machine, previous generation machine. Now that AMD's come out with the 7000 series, this was the highest end processor in the Ryzen 5000 series, the Zen 4 processors. The new stuff was coming out, and the new stuff requires DDR4, which is very expensive, and a lot of people are complaining about the price, but DDR5 is actually coming down in price. The problem is motherboards are expensive, and with the DDR price plus the processors being more expensive, AMD machines are relatively expensive right now. I've got an Intel 12900K machine that I have not put together. I've done a lot of proof of concepting with it, and I've got it on a test bench, and I'm getting ready to crank it up. I've had the parts since February and March, but I got this AMD machine together earlier, and just didn't get the Intel machine together because there were some overheating problems. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start Flight Simulator. And it looks like I already got it up. Let's go to Options. And I'm going to change it. I changed it back to DLS. And I've got AMD sharpening on as well. Just to have all the additional stuff going I can, even though this GPU is not the most powerful. Some of these things get offloaded to the CPU, and I have plenty of CPU as long as it's going off to multiple cores. Microsoft Flight Simulator is very single thread bound. So what it'll be showing, I'm going to leave the frame counter up. It'll say it's limited by the GPU the whole time because the GPU is not the most powerful. The new series of NVIDIA cards came out on October the 12th. There have been some issues with the power connector to the card because it doesn't get power from the PCI slot. So anyway, I bought the Just Flight Cherokee. Well, it's a PA-28-161 Warrior II. It has the, I think they call it a semi-tapered wing because it's only tapered on the outer portions of the wings. Wing panels. The Cherokees I flew all had Hershey bar wings. I flew Cherokee 140s. I flew a Cherokee 180. I flew a Piper Seneca. Unofficially 1. There was no Seneca 1 until the Seneca 2s came out. And so I got this plane because it's got the kind of cockpit that I'm used to seeing, and it doesn't really show you the cockpit in here very well, but I'll switch back to here. This is the livery scheme I picked. Not like it's got wheel pants on it. The ones I flew never had wheel pants on them. And Seneca had retractable gear, and my friend Earl Fortner's Piper Arrow is retractable. I should have bought that airplane. I also should have bought a V-35 Bonanza that another friend had. I could have gotten it for $35,000 back in 1996, and it's worth a whole lot more than that now. Anyway, I'm going to go back and set up a flight. Just go ahead and create one from fresh. I've mostly flown in and out of Monroe, Concord, Rock Hill, South Carolina, Rowan Regional. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this to go to what's called McGee Field, because McGee Field is on the other side of the trek from Monroe to my neighborhood, and it makes it easy for me to find it because I do have the airplane markers enabled. And so let's go ahead and pick runway 9. And we'll set the flight conditions to clear skies. I don't need anything in my way right now, and I will set the time to be approximately noon. I hadn't seen a way to actually set the specific time, and I don't like this slider, and you can't use the mouse roller to select it. It's one thing I don't like. I need to learn how to do that. I also am learning how to create scenery so I can fix up the scenery for my neighborhood. It's showing some trees on my field, and we'll pop into OBS real quick and make sure this is recording. Looks like it is. So everything should be set up now. I'm actually flying using a Cytec X52 joystick and throttle, even though the Pipers are yoke airplanes. I flew them as much from the right side as from the left seat, especially when I was flying with other people. So I'm used to flying with my right hand and using my left hand for the throttle as well. That's how I got to where I could fly different modes of model airplane transmitters. So anyway, and then that's a tip. Anybody that wants to fly model airplanes on, I think it's mode 4, where you control the pitch and roll with your left hand, left thumb. Learning to fly with the yoke's a good way to do that, because in reality, when you're flying the left seat with a yoke, you're flying with your left hand and controlling the throttle with your right. Airline captains will use their right hand as they're doing a rotate and in landing at times, but for small airplanes, you're usually riding the throttle, especially on landing. On takeoff on this plane, what I'm going to do is shoot for 70 miles an hour. I don't always remember to do it. Sometimes I don't take off or do my departure at 70 miles an hour, but 70 miles an hour is best climb, approximately best climb for this airplane with a notch of flaps. So let's go flying. Monroe was designated EQY when I was flying.
Kilo Echo Quebec Yankee Traffic Piper Romeo Charlie Papa Romeo Oscar, taking off runway 5 departure to the east.
And I've got the airplane call sign set as RC Pro, even though externally this one doesn't do it. And apparently I forgot to get my weather all set up. Thought for sure I did that. And the other day, or yesterday, I was flying this airplane, actually Thursday night, after getting it, and I had a failure. The rudder was reversed, so we're going to check all the controls. Making sure they're correct. Bring the flaps back up and take them down a notch. Switch back inside. And there, our flaps bar is up one notch and the brake is on. Mixture's full forward. Magnetic compass is reading 60 degrees approximately. This is runway 5 at Monroe. Let's take a look out over the wing. Box of controls. And one of the nice things about Flight Simulator is you can twist your head around. So, the brakes are on. I can confirm that by moving the toe brakes, and this is, I believe, called a Johnson bar, and I could either click on it here, but what I'm going to do is click on the button I've got assigned to it. The plane will start rolling. I'm going to hold the toe brakes to keep it from rolling. I did not do a run-up to check the mags because I'm not worried about that. I should, but if I get a failure, it'll be a good lesson. So, I'm not going to do a full throttle short field takeoff because this runway is over 7,000 feet long. I think it's close to 8,000, if not 8,000. So, let's go flying. Starting to hold in a little right rudder. Airspeed's alive. 55, 60, 65, 70, rotate. We're going to pitch for best climb of 70. Take a little look at that. Scenery's not accurate, and I'm going to do Monroe since I live right here. Edwards is an airfield owned by one of my friends, Rex Edwards. He worked with me at Backroom Systems Group back in the 80s, and he bought a 152 with his father, and they had a crash, survived it, and he bought a 177. There's a big quarry over there, and the church I went to is right there below me. It's where I grew up. It's not accurate. It doesn't have a steeple. My intention is to get all of the area that I cover done in Flight Simulator with photogrammetry scenery so that it's more accurate, because while I-485, the loop around Monroe, I'll just go ahead and go down to, I missed the church. That's Highway 74. What I'm going to do is head a little bit more east, which makes it easier to get to my house, find it. And we'll pull the throttle back a little bit because we're now at almost 2,000 feet. Bring the flaps up, confirm. This car's not super powerful, but with the right settings, you can get pretty decent performance out of it. That's Goose Creek over there. I've landed and taken off from there. multiple times. Almost had to do an engine out there because I had carb icing coming from Monroe. Freaked my instructor out. We got the engine back to running, but I was going up to 2,500 feet. I'm getting close to 40 frames per second, even with this lower end card. I'm running at 2560 by 1440p. 4K doesn't quite work with this card. There's a neighborhood that's near Highway 601. So what I'm going to do is look over. We'll start my turn to the north because I'll be able to pick up Highway 601. Can't ever remember the name of that neighborhood. Back off of 601, so it's kind of quiet. You see it's big and forms an oval. And that's 601 off of the vent window. And I'm going to go ahead and climb up to 3,000. And that's actually my neighborhood off to the left there. I say my neighborhood, not my neighborhood, the neighborhood I live in. But since I own more land in it than anyone else, it's sort of mine. You can see the field just above the vent window. It's got some trees on it that the Microsoft AI scenery creates, and I'm going to eliminate that as one of my first scenery tasks. I watched a thing by Patriot 6 about that. Scenery's not as complicated as planes, but it's still not easy. But yeah, my house is down there, but it doesn't have the exact roof line of my house. Pull back, I'm kind of should have hidden the yoke. And that's Lawyer's Road there, so what I'm going to do is turn. Because that street up above the vent is called Friendly Baptist Church, and flying around Friendly Baptist Church, my instructor had me doing deep turns or steep turns around the church, and that's the field right in front of the wing at the start of the taper. It's 10 acres, the part that I mowed anyway. I had a contract on the whole thing at one time, but couldn't get a clear title on it. Then my next door neighbor tried to buy it out from under me. He had title insurance, and then wound up having to claim his title insurance because not being able to get it. And that's Porter Ridge High School. I can hear the band playing when they're practicing in the morning during the school year or summer school. And there's a track right behind it. And I don't need to go ahead and, well, I'll just go ahead and do a little bit of steep turn, but you can see there are trees on the field, and my house is the one with the big driveway. But that's Monroe Airport is right back to the west. So what I'm going to do is, I'm staying at 3,000 until I intercept the runway. Now I actually intercept a little short of the runway. A lot of times I overturn it. and I'll fly the pattern to do a legitimate, semi-legitimate approach, typical approach. And that MFD or whatever they call it is right in my way, so I'm going to go ahead and start a turn, a gentle turn, so I can keep the runway in sight. And this is the cool thing, from my house, on a good day, you can see the runway, and at night you can see the beacon easily, so makes it a nice thing for me. And I'm going to go ahead and start descending, so I'm at pattern altitude, which is 1,700 feet. The runway's at approximately 700 feet, maybe 717. My house is at 697 MSL. So yeah, I overshot the pattern a little bit, but this gives me quite a while to get in the line for it. I did not set the wind for a wind from the east, northeast, but I'll be fine. So I've started a descent. I'm descending at about close to 500 a minute, and I'm a couple minutes away, so I'm a little fast on downwind, it doesn't matter, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull the throttle back some, try to maintain my 500. And I happen to know that that building right off the front is my half-mile away from the runway, so I'm going to try to get lined back up so I can be directly parallel to the runway on the approach. And I'm descending a little too fast. I picked up a little speed, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and pull it back a little bit more so I can be at pattern altitude. I think I'm going to be just about right. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and change it to 500. It's okay if I'm a little high on entry, although I don't like to be. I like to be fully stabilized at my pattern altitude. I used to have 7 monitors and 6 computers and 7 monitors set up for flying flight simulator, and after I moved in this house, and it wasn't high resolution, but it was very realistic, and I'm getting a little below my pattern altitude now, so I'm going to level off, get stabilized, and I'm still a little close to the runway. Need to get out a little further, else my base will be a little bit too close, and I'm losing a little altitude, so I'm starting a little low. I'm trying to get me back up to, okay, I'm still at 14, so I will not be doing a long base from here. And I'm going to fly out. There we are. So I'm going to start descending now. Going to get a notch of flaps in, so I'm good on flaps. Now I'm going to make my base turn. Wind up a little bit high, I believe. I'm losing a little bit too much altitude, so I'm just going to go ahead and straighten up a little bit. I lost the runway. I'm not looking out, trying to keep an eye on the. Go ahead and add another notch of flaps. Get lined up with the runway. I'm good. I'm still a little high according to the VASI lights. They're showing 4 flight right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull back a little bit. Try to keep the runway in the same spot in the windshield. And I need to get over and cross control with rudder a little bit. Go in the left notch of flaps if I didn't have it in, and I'm going to go ahead and line up using ailerons, and then now I'm doing the rudder dance, and I'm flying to the end of the runway, and I can do that. Yeah, a little side load, not great, but anyway, we're on the ground. Wouldn't have hurt the plane, and considering I hadn't flown the Cherokee, a real one, in almost 20 years, I'll take it. And we're going to go ahead and get off at the next taxiway. Oops, started my left foot a little too soon. So I'm using rudder and brake to make the turn, and taxiway lights hurt. The other day when I did this, there was another Cherokee sitting right beside where I wanted to park, so it's kind of cool after you buy planes. Sometimes you'll see them. We don't get one today, but I might have it on live traffic. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is not what the terminal looks like. The FBO used to be in here, but I think they've actually moved to a hangar. It wasn't a very good parking job. So I'm going to set the brake, verify, and I forgot to bring my flaps up after I landed. I think that's a Comanche, maybe. Supposed to be, maybe. I don't own a Comanche, so I think it's one of the AI planes. There's a PC-6 sitting over there, or PC-12. Platus. No, that's not a PC-12. PC-12 is a turboprop. I'm not sure what that plane is. Let's get outside the airplane. I think that's it's another one of those twins. That parking lot is about where the plane parking is, and they're actually hangars behind all that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get back inside the airplane and I'm going to kill the engine. So pull the mixture back. And you have to hide the yoke to get to the, what's going on here? What's going on here? There we go. And we're going to turn the magnetos off. Maybe. I've got a panel where I can do this, and I don't like doing things with the mouse. But we'll go ahead and turn off all the switches. I have a little panel that has all these. Come on. And you get them in the right order because of the mixture getting in the way. So you can see the attitude indicator has fallen. because of no pressure. And just for a little simulation, I should have left the engine running so you could hear it, but what we'll do now is put that back up, lock it, and switch over to the door and egress. But and if we get out of the airplane, doors open, and let's go take a break. Thanks for flying with Don. Have a good evening or day.